some research for my dissertation, and it seems like, especially in like the 30s and 40s in the United States, it was just that one person who bought the weights, say from York, Barbell, and Bob Hoffman and crew. And they then, gathered one or two other people, and then they were all training in that garage. Or it was someone's gym, some standout lifter, and then they would just preach it and teach it to everyone. And that seems pretty self-explanatory, but I think it's a little bit more powerful than just, a group of bros lifting. Yeah. It's that teacher really helps to introduce you and, just facilitate your learning into an entirely new aspect of life, because it can also be a huge change. There's a lot of baggage that can potentially come with that. It's a lifestyle change for a lot of people. Yeah. It's not just, I'm going to the gym, but everything that we're told, well, once you go to the gym, then you got to worry about your diet, you got to worry about this, you got to worry about that, and it can be overwhelming. So
yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, when you mentioned positivity as like one of the most important things, and having that circle of positivity around your life, it made me think about like how Dom gets whenever like Cuddy hits a PR. Like he gets so excited. Like you see, he's like so elated, jumping up and down, like in this like, I don't know, it's just like immense joy. And it's so cool to see. And it's inspiring not just to see that, but to kind of put yourself there and be like, wow, what if I had that kind of positivity in my life? That could really change things for me. Instead of looking at it like, man, I'm worthless, I can't do shit. It's like, okay, well, if I had that in my life and someone that knew what they were doing, they could maybe like help me, like you were saying, facilitate the process such that I can keep empowering myself to do better and better and better. I think that's awesome. I also think, when you were talking about people and how they can be kind of scared at first because it's not something they're familiar with. And you mentioned like if you went to Magic the Gathering, you'd be like, why am I here? And I think that's fascinating because I feel like people, they want to do things they're good at. And they want to repeat that over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because like your nervous system will keep replaying that over and over, and there's no new challenge or adaptive stress to where you can actually make a new neuronal connection or a new pathway to change. And I think it's one of the most uncomfortable thing. And I think like you were saying, positivity is key and mentorship is awesome. And I think even for me, like when I go lift in Hyde Park Gym, I'm glad when you're there or when Jacob's there or when Ben's there, because when I'm doing lifts, and even as a coach, even as someone that's a gym owner, it's really cool to get perspective back and be like, hey, Dom stops me. Hey, do you mind if I give you advice? I'm like, yeah, go for it. Like anything that I can do to improve, I'm all up for it. And I think that's really where people need to come from. It's not from the perspective of like, oh, I'm afraid and whatever. I don't want to do it. I'm just too scared. I'm just going to back off and forget it. But I think when you come from a perspective of, okay, like it is going to be vulnerable, but this person is positive. They are reinforcing me. They are facilitating a process in me such that I can be better. And I think that's a cool place to come from,
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if I may, since I'm on the mic now, so to speak, I think that's one of the problems that we run into a lot, or at least, I have an Instagram, or if you're on any type of social media, you try to help people, or I kind of get on the forums, Starting Strong, man, that Facebook group. And, it's great because it has the potential to reach a lot of beginners, and it has already, but, man, or even any other group, not that one specifically, but, people try to offer advice, and it's like, it seems that all these people who are training to be strong, well, they're trying to be strong physically because they're covering up their weaknesses and confidence emotionally. And if you ever question anything they do, it's boom, they're so defensive and it's ego, and then they're just a lot of douchebaggery goes on, on those forums, and so I feel like, but it's real, and I'm not. I'm not immune to it at all, because at times, if people want to offer me advice, I have to swallow my pride for a second. It takes me that 15 seconds of them talking to say, okay, Dominic, you need to relax. They're telling you things that can help. You need to listen to them. You need to hear them out. And that it can be really, really difficult. But I just feel like if you're not listening to other people, then you're not, if you do know more than them, well, you could perhaps help them. And maybe, you could start a conversation at least. B, maybe they have something that you can learn from. Even if it's, even if it's wrong. Say like when I'm doing research, you can learn a lot from what's there, but you can also learn a lot from what's not there. So if maybe trying to flip the script or change how you look at, what they're saying and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like listening and being in that conversation, like you said, just being open to things and being a continuous learner is huge. Otherwise, why stay stagnant? You don't lift weights to stay stagnant.
That's true.
Why do you want to let your brain stay stagnant?
And actually, that brings me to an interesting point. It's like always exposing yourself to people that, are mentors or have a lot of experience, have really fought in the arena, so to speak, and know what it's like to fail or to not do something correctly, and then to come out of it and learn something entirely new and then help people with that new knowledge. I think that's powerful. So I want to ask you this question, and that's, with Chinese culture or Japanese culture, historically, like the Shifu was like the master. And that was really highly celebrated. If you had a Shifu, it's like, oh man, this guy's a Shifu. He's a master, and the master was like helping him like transform as a martial artist, and that was celebrated. And do you think like with American culture, it's more of this like, is there more arrogance to people, or is it just does it pervade through all cultures? Like, what do you think?
That's really interesting. So essentially you're saying that it comes from a top-down versus a bottom-up type of instruction with someone. Yeah. I think that maybe rails against the Horatio Alger's type of rags to riches story that America's kind of built on, right? So, I mean, people continue to come to America to do things, to start fresh, to start a new life. And a lot of people, I mean, that's now transformed into a popular song, started from the bottom, now you're here, right? So I think that kind of narrative is really perpetuated through our culture through a lot of different ways, and I think it's definitely felt by a lot of people because they want to do it themselves or not have someone else tell them what to do or infringe or we didn't want. And maybe this is too academic or too much of a stretch, but we threw tea off of boats because we didn't want to be taxed for tea, which is totally understandable. But at the same, and maybe that is human nature. We just don't want maybe not human nature if it doesn't happen in other cultures, but really key to our culture is that we don't want other people telling us how to do things. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to be self-learners, self-motivated, go after it ourselves. But yeah, that's really interesting because even if you watch like Yido Dreams of Sushi, right? Like his son still hasn't, on the movie, his son was working for him forever, still didn't move to another restaurant. So yeah, it's so interesting. But I'm sure both cultures might benefit from getting a little bit of the other one. Yeah, but you're right. It's unreal.
Yeah, I think I mean, even I'll be honest, even as me being a coach, it's like it's hard to listen to someone's criticisms, no matter like where it comes from. If it's like good natured or it's coming from a place of, hey, dude, I just want to see you succeed. I want to see you succeed in every realm. Like so that when you can feel it in your body, you can help someone feel it in their body. I think it's hard even for me. Like the first thing that comes up is like ego. It's like, yo, I know this shit. Like I don't need you to tell me what's up. But in essence, it's just ego. And I think ego, has a place. You can use it. You can utilize it really usefully, like in the gym. Like if you can just like, really get amped up before a lift, you can use it to your advantage. But I think like you were saying, like when you're using it to cover up weaknesses, it's almost like someone tries to go do a deadlift, but they have like no integrity in their back. They have no strength. They have no core strength. And they're just trying to like do half reps or kind of like half-ass reps, hoping to just cover up so they can look cool in front of people. I think that weak link's always going to persist. I mean, you're resisting that exposure, that vulnerability of the weak link, whether it be your core, posterior chain, whatever it is, and then it's going to come back and bite you in the ass eventually, whether it results in an injury or like a completely life crippling like loss, whatever it could be. And there's definite vulnerability, like a crap ton of vulnerability when you talk to someone and you were trying to do something new, or you've experienced it for a long period of time, or you have your own experience with it for years, and then you have someone else that has a completely different perspective that could literally change everything you know about what you're doing, whether it is strength, whether it is conditioning, whether it is wellness, whatever it is. And then for you to be okay with that, like, it's scary. Like, I can admit to that. It's really scary. And I can see what you're saying when it comes to American culture, where it's like you can do it on your own. You can like self-teach, and it's almost like that New York mentality where it's like you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, you can do whatever it takes to be awesome by yourself. But even then, if you look at YouTube, dude, like YouTube has like so many mentors, so to speak. Like people watch YouTube all the time. So in essence, they are exposing themselves to information that they wouldn't know otherwise. Mm-hmm. So mentorship is everywhere. And I think when it comes to face-to-face, dude, it's a different like dynamic altogether. It's like, oh shit, now it's like eye contact going on. They're looking at me, I'm looking at them. I'm feeling everything that's going on between me and this person. Like, honestly, when I first met you, I was like, this dude knows his shit. Like, I just like watching you, not even like talking to you at all, just watching you go through movements and the way you would set up your cues, the way you would brace, the way you would make sure everything was aligned. Everything was intentional. And I think that's important, is the intention. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, I think that speaks to a lot of how, I mean, I don't really coach like you do with a lot of people, but, you know, I've been coaching my girlfriend a lot lately, and that's where I'm pulling. Well, I mean, I guess I was a strength coach, so, but yeah. Technique is key, right? Technique is key with everything. And it's so big, I think in a word, you can explain what I was doing was just, or 2 words, being mindful, you know, because that's a big part of it. I mean, it's become, for me, like, weights has become almost spiritual, and that's going to seem maybe a little bit odd, but I guess not for this podcast. So. But, you know, being able to, we'll say people do yoga, right, to like reach this transcendent state, you know, really get in touch with things. And I feel like that's what happens with me. I know, say during a competition or when it's like a really big lift that's coming up or whatever it is, I know that because on my, say, lighter sets or everything that I've done, I focused on my technique. If I'm doing shoulder presses, I'm trying to understand if I'm pulling my elbows down or rotating to see where my scap is, so I can feel, you know, are my rear delts engaged on this one? If I'm that means I'm going to be pressing more straight over my head rather in front of my head, and, you know, trying to do things right. Or, you know, am I tucking my sacrum? Whatever the case may be, I'm trying to be totally mindful of everything that goes on in my body, and it's taken a long time. But on those reps and sets where I can do, where say I'm loading a stone for reps, or say I'm deadlifting for reps, or I'm squatting for reps, or I'm trying to do log for reps, or whatever the case may be, in those 60 seconds, I feel like Dom Toretto from Fast and the Furious, because like, for those 10 seconds or less, I'm free. But I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. For those, you know, 60 seconds, however long it takes, it's just, you experience that flow, you know? And I mean, it's just such an incredible state to be in and feel, and I don't know, it's just you, from all that focus, you just find somewhere and you just latch onto this core and nothing else breaks in. And it's, I don't know, it's really, really incredible. And those are I mean, if I were to, I don't know, describe one reason why you lift and what's the pursuit of, I mean, it's that, because it's just, that feeling's just really, really hard for me to describe because it's so unique.
So it's almost like cutting out the mind chatter by immersing yourself in your own body.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's something that I talk about in class too, because I think with a lot of boot camps nowadays, you see people kind of moving around kind of mindlessly, just hoping to just get a sweat in and hopefully not get noticed by the coach so he doesn't correct them, you know. But I think, like you were saying, there's a lot you're missing out there. And this kind of cultivation of your mind through your body is something that has been along for a long time, right? And my question to you is, you know, back in the day, historically, do you feel like cues and intention and this kind of spiritual aspect to like lifting or strength and conditioning was more prominent, or is it making a comeback, or is it kind of like this thing that's it's kind of all over the place. Like some people are bringing it back